It seems ordinary, pulling on a shirt, wrapping yourself in something warm before stepping outside. You do it without thinking, but somewhere in the deep, forgotten past, this simple act didn't exist at all. There was a version of us, walking upright, hunting, surviving, with nothing covering our skin but skin itself. So when did that change, and why? Most people assume clothing began the moment humans felt cold. But the story is stranger than that, and it starts with something you'd never expect: hair loss. At some point in our evolutionary past, humans lost most of their body fur. Scientists still debate exactly why. Some think it helped our ancestors cool down while running long distances under the African sun. Others believe it reduced parasites that thrive in thick fur. Whatever the reason, the result was the same: a mostly naked ape walking across a planet full of shifting climates. And that created a problem. Without fur, humans had no natural protection from cold nights, harsh sun, or biting insects. So evolution didn't just leave us exposed, it left us clever. And cleverness, as it turns out, is exactly what fills the gap fur used to cover. Here's where it gets fascinating. Scientists can't dig up ancient clothing. Fabric and hide rot away within centuries, leaving almost nothing behind for archaeologists to find. So, how do we know when clothing began? The answer isn't hidden in cloth, it's hidden in lice. There are two main types of human lice: one that lives in head hair and one that lives specifically in clothing fibers. Clothing lice couldn't have existed before clothing did, so by studying the genetic differences between these two lice species, researchers estimated when they split apart evolutionarily. The results pointed to something remarkable. Humans may have started wearing some form of clothing around 170,000 years ago, maybe even earlier, long before agriculture, long before writing, long before cities. Clothing may be one of the oldest technologies humans ever invented. But if there was no cloth yet, what were early humans actually wearing? The truth is, it probably wasn't clothing in the way we imagine it. It was likely simple animal hides, draped or tied around the body. Early humans didn't have needles yet, so these hides may have just been wrapped, using natural adhesives, sinew, or plant fibers as ties. It wasn't about fashion, it was about survival in freezing ice age climates, especially as humans began migrating out of Africa into colder regions of Europe and Asia. And this raises another question. If they were wrapping hides around themselves, how did clothing eventually become tailored, fitted, sewn? The answer arrives with one of the most underrated inventions in human history: the needle. Archaeologists have found bone needles dating back roughly 40 to 60,000 years, with tiny eyes for threading sinew or plant fiber. This was a turning point. Suddenly, humans weren't just wrapping themselves in hides, they were shaping clothing to fit the body, creating layers, sealing gaps against wind and snow. This mattered more than it might seem. Some researchers argue that fitted sewn clothing may have given certain early human groups a survival advantage during the brutal cold of the last ice age. Better insulation meant better chances of enduring extreme winters, hunting in freezing conditions, and migrating into environments that would otherwise be unlivable. In a very real sense, clothing may have helped shape where humans could survive at all. But clothing was never just about staying warm. As human societies grew more complex, what people wore began to carry meaning far beyond temperature. Furs might signal a skilled hunter, certain patterns or colors might indicate status, group identity, or rank. Clothing slowly became a language of its own, worn not just to survive the environment, but to communicate something to other humans. Long before spoken language could travel far, a person's clothing could speak instantly. This is what makes early clothing so remarkable. It wasn't simply about protection, it solved a biological weakness through invention. It changed how far humans could travel, what climates they could survive in, and even how they saw one another. A creature born without fur found a way to reinvent it, not through evolution, but through imagination. And when you really sit with that thought, something shifts. Every time you put on a jacket without thinking twice, you're repeating an act your ancestors invented tens of thousands of years ago, out of necessity, out of survival, out of sheer human ingenuity. Clothing wasn't just something humans started wearing, it was one of the first proofs that humans could outthink nature itself.